Hello orchid friends, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching my video, my channel is all about orchids. From what orchids I have, how I grow them, my thoughts on certain orchid topics, to what orchids in my collection are blooming, etc. So if you want to follow along my orchid hobby adventure, please consider subscribing to my channel and turn on the notification. Today in this video, I'm going to show you a couple new mini Phalaenopsis orchids I have purchased earlier this year and share a little bit about some of the tips I use to decide which orchid I want based on their look, health, etc. And also to share with you my observation about the mini Phalaenopsis trends that I am seeing in terms of what they're selling. So we'll have to go back in time. This is beginning of May 2019. It was a Saturday morning. As usual, I finished my gym classes, my weight training gym classes, and then I would go to my local Trader Joe's to get groceries. And there they were, these mini Phalaenopsis orchids. And what caught my attention was literally the markings on their leaves. These are not as obvious as the stripes or markings on, say, Schilleriana, Stortiana, or their primary hybrids. But it's still enough that I like them, so I decided to buy a couple. I think there were 4, and I picked up 3, and eventually I gave one to a friend of mine who also is very interested in orchids, and he has a very big green thumb as well, so I know that orchid will be in good care. Anyway, so these are mini Phalaenopsis orchids. I think they were going for $6 per piece, and this is the bloom. So because it has mottling, a little bit of mottling, recessive mottling, so it's not as obvious. Because of that, and because of the pink within the flower, I am guessing, so this is my guess, okay? Don't quote me on it. My guess is that it has Schilleriana in its parentage. And get this mini orchid is fragrant. All 3 of them are. It's not super strong, but you don't have to get too close. You can detect the fragrance. And I remember it being fragrant all the way in the morning to about noon. This one doesn't go until the afternoon time. And overall, I'm thinking this is a good buy. And in fact, I think I even put out a community post for fragrant orchid alert from my channel. But then after that, after a week or so, I deleted the post because I don't use that feature within my channel, so I don't want to just have a post on there. So I deleted it. But back to this orchid. They're really cute, mini, not expensive. So these are orchids that I can potentially do experiments on if I want to. I don't usually do that because if whatever method I'm using that's working for me, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If it's not broken, I don't want to fix it. So, but if I want to, these are cheap enough that I can do crazy experiments on them just for my learning and share it with you. And still get to sleep at night and not have to worry about it. But anyway, so when I choose orchid, before I purchase them, I look at a couple things before I decide I want to pick them up or take them home. Number 1 is roots. And number 2 would be the amount of leaves. So the more root system, the more established root system it is, the better. So if you have the same, between the same kind of orchid, if one has better root system, obviously that one is the better one to go. And then you also want to compare leaf sizes and leaf counts. The bigger the leaf and the more the leaves, the better. And then you also want to look at how many flower spikes. I have seen the same orchid type. One would have 2 flower spikes, and the the other one or another one of the same type would only have one flower spike. So you do have to look at that. And then you want to also look at the flower count or buds count, right? Obviously, the more flower, the more buds, the better. So these are the kind of things that I look at just from the obvious physical characteristics. But then there is a layer deeper to that. You also need to look at the media. It's not so much to determine the age of the media or how quickly you need to repot it, but to look at, see if there is potential signs of pest infestation, right, in the media. Maybe you already see something crawling, or maybe you already see spider mites, which you can also, see on the leaves if it does have issues, or mealybugs in the media if there's any white fluffy stuff. And then you also want to look at the leaves, whether the leaves has any marking from false spider mites or any kind of scale issues. So that is a layer deeper that if you are not familiar or if you're new to the orchid hobby, you may not actually know to look for those. I mean, you may look at the leaves, the roots, the flower spike, the flower count, but then you don't know about the pest issue or how to see whether certain marking on the leaves is caused by pest infestation. So these are the kind of things that I always look at before I decide if I want to take one orchid home. And even if after I take it home, I also make sure I somehow quarantine this orchid so that it's not directly put next to my already owned established healthy orchid, because in case there's something that's hide within the media that I didn't see that comes out, or there's maybe some kind of virus or fusarium, whatnot. So it's always good to separate them until you know for sure that this orchid is nice and healthy, to be able to combine them together. Okay, so another month went by. Beginning of June 2019, I came across another orchid with marking on the leaves again. So I picked it up after it passed all the examinations that I just mentioned. I decided to pick this one up. But what's different about this one is later you will see this orchid's flower is pretty white. And I will get into that a little bit more. So here you can kind of already see the 4 mini Phalaenopsis orchid that I have purchased. They all have these markings on their leaves. So the trend that I was talking about at the beginning of the video is I'm seeing a lot more orchids being hybridized with this kind of characteristics. So it could be a trend, because since I purchased these mini orchids, I have seen a lot more orchids with markings on their leaves. It used to be almost a novelty thing. Now it's gotten so common, I feel. Not sure about whether it's true in your region, but that's what I see here in our southern region of the US. And here, this orchid, had bud blast issues, and that's because change of environment, and this orchid, I bet it was just more sensitive. But back to the flower. This orchid flower is white, but then the lip reminds me of my other primary hybrid between Alba Sanderiana Alba and then Amabilis Alba, or Aphrodite. So I'm suspecting that one of the parents for this particular mini Phalaenopsis orchid is the Sanderiana Alba form. Again, it's my guess, purely guessing, but there is a possibility. So this is what I want to share with you today. Yes, I bought more orchids, even though I have been telling myself not to buy any more orchids, but I couldn't help it. I know you share the same pain and you totally understand what I'm talking about. When you're into the orchid hobby, you just cannot not buy additional orchids. Do you agree? This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao.